everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Romance. Today I'm going to be filming my end of the month wrap up for May. It has been such an amazing month. I think it's one of the best months I've had since I've started the BookTube channel, and I just had so many like really great books, more 6 stars than I've ever had in a month. It kind of even seems like I'm just handing out these 6 stars, but believe me, these books like moved me, or they just had that extra bit and like made me cry, or any of those kind of things. So they were amazing books, big standouts. A few of those 6 stars are going to be in my previous wrap up, which was for my mid-month wrap up. I believe I have a couple in this wrap up. 2 or 3, I can't remember, sorry. But so we're gonna dive right in. I'm gonna go over just briefly my stats for the month. I did read 29 books, which is a lot better than I've usually been doing, and not a lot, but a little bit better. I usually average between 23 to 24 books the last few months, so I'm hoping I'll keep doing a little bit better. And I think actually following my TBR is helping too. So 29 books, I feel good with that. I had 6 6-star reads, so that is insane. I am so happy with my reading month. It was just, I was on a roll with reading some amazing books. And then I had 5, for my 5 stars, I had 7 5 stars, 2 4.5 stars, 7 4 stars, 2 3.5 stars, 4 3 stars, and then 1 2 star. That 2 star was a book I really hated, and it was in the Mafia romance readathon when I read. If you want to see my full thoughts, I rant about it in my Mafia romance readathon vlog, and then it's also my previous wrap up. I will link both of them below, but because I do rant about one of my 6 stars and a 2 star from that. So, but let's go ahead and dive into my end of the month wrap up. This last half of the month, I did read 16 books. So let's dive right in. The first book that I read was Witches Get Stitches by Juliette Cross. This is the 3rd book in her Stay a Spell series. I'm trying to get through that series slowly here. I'm really enjoying it. I didn't like the 2nd one as much as the 1st one, Wolf Gone Wild, but this one is a new fave for me. So this is between Nico and Violet, and Nico is a werewolf. He's actually Mateo's cousin. Mateo's from Wolf Gone Wild. And he and Violet kind of had a run-in, like in a different state a while ago, when she was like helping a friend or whatever. And they ran into each other at a bar, and they had a pretty sexy, like intense interaction. And Nico was instantly knowing like she's probably the one, mate kind of thing. And she kind of hightails it out of there, never leaves him her information or anything. He ends up moving to New Orleans, and he is, because Mateo is his cousin, and he's actually performing at like their bar and stuff. He plays the guitar and sings. And so Violet like is really attracted to him, but she kind of puts him immediately in the friend zone because she did her own tarot card reading, and it looked like they would be bad together. The tarot card reading she may have read wrong, and you're not supposed to do your own readings. So she basically puts him immediately into the friend zone. And then now they're actually going to be opening up a tattoo parlor together. She wants to help the werewolves because they were cursed by witches a long time ago, and with that curse that they have, and they're not always able to control their like inner, werewolf, and so they're kind of seen as less than in the paranormal society and everything. So she wanted to come up with a tattoo that's like a charm tattoo kind of thing that could help them control those behaviors and kind of make them better part of the community. So some werewolves come into town that are kind of heard about this and are kind of threatening her and want this done for them because they think that's the only way they can really get it, because witches refused to work with werewolves before. So I loved this. Nico was so like alpha mellow, like he's an alpha werewolf, but he was also like such a cinnamon roll on the inside and so gooey, and like he falls first hard for Violet, and he's just basically, playing the long game and waiting for them to be able to be together. And she finally lets go of her stupidity and bullheadedness of like not wanting to be with him because of that tarot card reading. So I really loved it. I think it's my new favorite in the series. I'm excited to jump into the next one because it's going to be about the Grimm, and I'm really interested in the Grimm's powers and everything. So we'll see if that one's even better. But I gave this one 5 stars. It's a 3 on the spice scale because Juliette Cross does write really good spice. So I definitely recommend this one. Okay, and then the next one that I have is I wanted to participate in the Tessa Dare read-along that Rachel reads and sings, Books with Samantha, Ava's romance book, and then Tip Talks Pages. They are all doing a Tessa Dare read-along. I've only read one of her books before, so I wanted to participate or at least read along with them. So the first book was A Night to Surrender. This is in the first book in the Spindle Cove series. This is between Bram and Susanna. There's not much to say about this one. It was a cute setup. It was basically like this town, Spindle Cove, is kind of where like the female rejects, wallflowers, like ruined women kind of go to get away from how society is. It's kind of like a vacation spot, but some of them live there year round. And so it's kind of a cute little like society of these women. They churn this bar into like a salon for them and all this stuff. Well, in walks Bram and his military. He just got the Earl of Rycliffe, became the Earl of Rycliffe, and basically gets the task, the duty to build a militia for this community. So he does that, and it's kind of him butting heads with Susanna over like the woman running the town and now the militia are there. It was really cute. It wasn't that amazing. I didn't really connect that much. I do like Bram. He was very like alpha dominant kind of hero. But it didn't blow me away or anything. So I gave this one 4 stars. And then I read an arc. I read The Duchess Takes a Husband. This is more against me than the book. I requested this arc, but I had never read anything by this author, Harper St. George. And this is the 4th book in this series. So I missed a lot of the buildup of this heroine's like journey through the other books. So I think it would mean more and be more satisfactory if you read the books before this one, but it didn't detract it from like being really an enjoyable book. I just think it would mean more reading those. Anyways, this is about Jacob and Camille. Camille is the Duchess of Hereford, and she's a recent widow. She had a very toxic and like sexually abusive relationship with her husband. And so now he has passed, and she's trying to move forward and heal. She definitely does have some trauma from her abuse that she experienced at his hands. And so that was seen, I guess, in the previous books. So she ends up propositioning Jacob Thorne to be like a one night of sex because she wants to find an experience that's good with sex. She's never really had a good sexual experience, so she wants him to like show her the ways because he runs a club and he's like a ladies' man. At first, he doesn't want to do this, but he asked her to be his fake fiance because he's trying to open up this new type of club, and that owner wants more of like a family man, not like a rake kind of player. And so he actually pretends that she's his fiance, and so then they kind of come into that fake fiance and also like kind of like lessons, in sex or seduction. It did go a little slow for me because she does have a lot of trauma, so she kept saying she wanted to do this but then would backpedal every time they were going to get sexual. So that was kind of frustrating, and I thought the 3rd act breakup or like conflict kind of thing was kind of stupid, but it wasn't horrible. It's just, those can be iffy for me. So I give this one 4 stars. I think it was a great representation of trying to overcome trauma or sexual abuse or domestic abuse, so trigger warnings on those as well. But I gave it 4 stars, and I did enjoy it. It had some good sex scenes that were pretty spicy for historical. So then I continued on the Tessa Dare read-along, and I read Once Upon a Winter's Eve. This is a 1.5 in the Spindle Cove series. Basically, it's like a quick little novella. It's a novella, so it's not like a lot to it, but it was Violet. She was a wallflower. She previously she's like a ruined woman because she did give her virginity away to a guy that ended up leaving and not being worth it to her. And then she's at Spindle Cove, and a man comes in. He's all like muddy and looking haggard, and he's speaking another language. She speaks multiple language, so she offers to kind of translate, and she keeps looking at him like he looks exactly like the guy she had sex with in her past, and ends up to be that same guy, and he's coming back for her, but he's a spy, and so it's all secretive and all this weird stuff going on. So that was kind of a little over the top to me and unbelievable, the whole spy thing, but I thought it was cute. It was sexy. I mean, it was a quick novella, so I gave it 4 stars. Okay, so the next book I read was our buddy read for May, and unfortunately, the other ladies didn't really enjoy this one. I wanted to do a San Mariano book, but the one that we ended up doing is not a typical San Mariano book to me, so I think they gave it like 3.5 stars. But that is Resisting Mr. Granville. This isn't usually her usual type, so it wasn't really hitting the mark for me. But I ended up giving it 4 stars. I rounded it up because it's San Mariano, and I couldn't put it down, and it still held my attention, even though it was kind of a chaotic mess. This is between Milo and Kennedy. Milo is Mr. Granville, and he was her mom's ex-boyfriend. He kind of barely dated her mom, but when he met her, when he went back to her mom's place, he was more enthralled and into her, so he kind of kept dating her mom. They end up having kind of like a sexual, he comes onto her pretty hard, and she tells her mom about it. Her mom breaks up with him and blames her. Her mom is a fucking monster, a horrible human being that's abusive and horrible to her daughter. But so that kind of ends things with Mr. Granville. She actually goes to school with one of his sons, and he's going to tutor her in a class that she's having trouble with. And so she ends up going back to his place, and then Mr. Granville's there, and he immediately pursues her, and it's really not much resisting on her part. She's all in pretty fast. So I don't know why it's called Resisting Mr. Granville, because she's all in. Like, she's wants him immediately. But so then the thing that makes it weird is I really liked the hero in the beginning. He kind of was a San Mariano hero in the beginning. He was very alpha, dominant, dirty talker, like very alpha and possessive. But later on in the story, something bad happens to Kennedy, and she needs healing and all that kind of stuff. And his whole personality kind of changed even before that to being kind of like more of like the cinnamon roll hero, which is no problem, but it was just such a change. And then his older son comes into the picture, and he's a San Mariano, morally gray to the highest level kind of hero. And he kind of steps in to help Kennedy with her way that she wants healing after this bad thing happens. And I didn't really like that. I didn't like Jonathan and her getting involved, and like the father not doing anything about it, yet he's supposed to be like all about her and possessive. And then it added this weird dynamic with like the son, and it's not like a poly relationship or them sharing her. It's like she wants to be with Milo. So it was really weird. It was all over the place. I think that it also ended with a happily for now, not happily ever after, because it seems like things are up in the air with Jonathan. Like, Jonathan says he knows they're together, but like he's also wants to go on a vacation with just them. It's kind of weird. The younger son ends up being like doing a big reveal, and he seems like he has psychopathic tendencies. So I was hoping that it's left that way with an open-ended kind of ending, so that we can get stuff with the sons, maybe like separate books. But I don't know if Sam even plans to do that. But I gave it 4 stars. It's like a 3.5 on the spice scale. So it's got some spicy hot scenes. But it just didn't live up to like San Mariano's usual books. So then I read Freeing Luka. This is the second book. I read Choosing Theo. It's the second book in the Clickanian series. It's alien romance. I loved Choosing Theo. I thought it was really unique, had good world building, and I really enjoyed it. This second book picks up after that, and this is between Luka and Alice. And Luka was being held at one of these places where they're trying to find out like breeding and mating and all this kind of stuff, because these aliens have had a hard time breeding. They don't have like their fated or soulmate kind of thing anymore, so it's hard to have children. And some of these aliens, this group of like underground, you know, they're breaking the law, and they're trying to get like humans from Earth or different places, mostly from Earth. They're getting humans to see if they can breed with them. So that kind of was happening. You figured that out in the last one. But Alice was basically taken from Earth as well for this. She ends up forced into a cell with Luka. He's being held, he's an alien, he's being held prisoner there because he kind of found out the truth about them and was undercover trying to expose what they were doing for the queen. And they're trying to have her constantly, and they're bonding with him to try and force like a mating bond and for his like mating marks to show, which will glow like on his body. And so they end up doing that. Like he ends up glowing and he's mating to her. They end up breaking out, getting away and everything. But like he has like the mating urge really bad. So they had to kind of try and stop him from like forcibly like getting all over her. And then they kind of separate. She goes off with other humans that were rescued from that facility. And they go to like the queen's like area, which he can't really get to without approval. And that's kind of where it fell flat for me. It was really boring in the middle. And Alice was kind of annoying because she wanted him. But then because she let guys on Earth treat her badly, she wasn't just going to do whatever Luka wanted. And just was kind of dumb to me, this stupid conflict. She kind of got on my nerves. So I didn't like it as much. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I do like the storyline. I think it's a good series. So I want to continue. But this one just didn't hit the same as Choosing Theo did. So then I got an arc from Jenika Snow for Primal. And this is like part of the Monsters and Beauty series. This is book number 3. These are novellas. I mean, don't expect like an amazing, like whatever. It is what it is. Like the other ones, I freaking loved Beast, where it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but he's Beast the whole time. And this, it's like a Goldilocks and the Three Bears kind of retelling, and they're bears. So they're these big, massive bears. So it's weird, but I love it. I don't know why Jenika Snow can pull it off and make these weird kind of things like fun. Like it's fun and sexy and weird. It's like ends up being kind of like a reverse harem romance between Goldie and these 3 bears. When she was young, she kind of got lost away from her like home, and one of them like helped her go home, and she always felt them watching her throughout the years. And now that she's of age, her parents have been dead for a couple years, they're ready to kind of claim her as theirs. And it's just really fun. I mean, you got to suspend belief and be okay with reading some monster romance because these guys are bears with snouts and everything. So it's pretty crazy. There's primal play, sharing, nodding, breeding, copious amounts of fluids being shared here, praise, and I mean, it's monster smut. So I really enjoyed it. I actually gave it 5 stars. Had a great time reading it. It is what it is. So now I'm going to get to one of my 6-star reads. I finally read this book. I'm doing a vlog of Pam Godwin. I don't know when I'm going to post it because I haven't read the second book that I want to do for it yet, but this will be in it. So I'll have more detail on it later. But I finally read Dark Notes by Pam Godwin, and this book blew me away. This is one of my favorite books. Pam Godwin is like considered the best at doing dark romances, and I love dark romances, so I don't know why I haven't read more of her books. So I definitely planning on more because this book was just so amazing. It had so much to it, so much. It was deep. It made me cry. It's a lot of trauma. So we have Emmerich and Ivory. Emmerich is going to be her new piano teacher. She goes to an elite, like school, private kind of school for the arts, and she's basically like a genius, like an expert pianist. And her goal is to go to get a kind of like a scholarship or get the thing to go to this really elite school after she graduates. So she's had the same piano teacher for years. But that piano teacher mysteriously all of a sudden is let go, and now Emmerich's coming to the school. Emmerich kind of like had a lot of scandal at his last job because he got caught with another teacher and they were doing some pretty rough dynamic play. He is into BDSM. And the girl was willingly doing that with him, but he got caught and in trouble, and he kind of looked like the off one. So now he's starting at this school, and he is not prepared for Ivory. Ivory's home life it's just so brutal. She has so much trauma. She goes through so much. She is basically living, her dad died a couple years ago, and he was like the breadwinner of the house. He actually he worked at like a jazz kind of like piano bar place, and he owned it. He actually sold it and was still working there, but he sold it so he could have money to pay for her elite school for the full 4 years. But then he died in a shootout at the bar. And so her mom and her brother are extremely hateful to her because he basically used all that money to pay for that school. Her mom's not working, her brother's not working. And so like Ivory's left to have to basically sell herself for sex to these like elite little like shit bags at the school so that they can pay their bills. And at the same time, she's also been raped repeatedly, sexually assaulted by her brother's best friend, who saved him in the war, so he doesn't even believe anything she says about this guy attacking her. He's been doing that since she was like 13. So you have all this trauma going on, and then she has this new teacher, Emmerich, who kind of he's immediately fascinated with her, drawn to her, and kind of sees what's going on in her at-home life and wants to help. But also he's extremely attracted to her, but it's very taboo. He's her teacher. And they end up getting into a secret relationship. BDSM is used in a way to help her find her voice and power. And she learns that, that she has the power in that BDSM relationship. And he helps her just get through so much. And it's just so freaking beautiful. I don't know. Their dynamic is beautiful. The BDSM scenes are beautiful, like sweet and sexy, and his punishments and all of that. And it's just really beautiful. So I love this. I got emotional reading it, and I don't usually do that a lot, which I've said recently, but this last month I've cried in multiple books. So, but I do want to warn you, a big trigger warning. Obviously the trigger warnings for like the dark romance, the sexual assault, the abuse, all of that kind of stuff. But I do want to warn you for trigger warning for a death of a pet, a brutal death, like killing of a pet. That really comes out of nowhere. It hit me. I was crying during that scene, and I just want to warn you because I know that some people's like place, they don't want to read that. So just be careful. It's kind of near the end of the book, so you'll kind of see when it's coming, but it's bad. So just be prepared for that. But this was a 6-star read, one of my favorite books so far of the year. Okay, so I actually got this kind of audiobook tour like thing for Instagram for the Off Balance series. Not for the first book, for the rest of the series. I got to listen to them all in audiobook so I could do reviews of those. And so I actually just read those, I think in like November. But so I started reading those because I need to get them done by a certain date. So I read all of them listened to all of them except for the last book, Dismount. I think that's going to be in June. So the first one that I listened to was the second book, Execution. I actually increased my rating. I think it was like a 4-star before. I put it up to 4.5. This time around, it was so much more enjoyable because my cats are fighting. Sorry, my cats were fighting in the background. Okay, this time it was so much more enjoyable because I've read the whole series. I know how amazing Kova is this time around, and I know what he was going through, and so I'm there for it. The first time I was very frustrated with Rhea and Kova. I do have a vlog for the first time I read the series, so I'll link that down below if you're interested. It's a spoiler vlog. I rant and rave about this series. but I really enjoyed the audiobook. I thought the narrator was really good. I was super bummed because the whole reason I wanted this was because I wanted to hear like a sexy male narrator doing his Russian accent. I wanted a Kova's voice, but it was all in the female. So I understand why they did that, because it's all in Rhea's perspective. It's all her POV. So it's like, I mean, so I get it. I was just kind of bummed at first, but I think she did a really good job. She did a good job at doing the Russian accent. So I really enjoyed it. Gave this one 4.5. Then I read Unhinged by Onley James. I enjoyed this book, but I didn't love it as much as I wanted to. This is a male psychopath serial killer type of romance. You basically have Adam, who was adopted by this guy who's taking in all these young kids that have psychopathic or sociopathic tendencies, and he's basically taking them in knowing you can't really cure that, so he's gonna raise them to use that to like kill bad guys. So it kind of reminded me a lot of like Dexter in that way. Adam is kind of like, was a model and like just the socialite kind of, you know, playboy kind of persona, but he actually had killed Noah, who's the other hero of this book. He killed his dad because he was a pedophile, and you know, he was hurting and killing kids. And so he ends up killing him, and Noah ends up finding his father, not knowing why he was killed. And he ends up figuring it out and kind of stalking Adam, and he ends up holding him at gunpoint one night. And Adam's more fascinated with this than anything. And so he tells Noah the truth about his father and actually shows him a video. And this opens up a lot of like his, you know, he kind of, Noah had been abused by his father as well, but he had blocked that out. And this kind of opened that back up, and he starts remembering a lot of things. And he remembers being attacked by like other men too. And so him and Noah instantly have this connection, and they're kind of going to work together to find this group of people. Now, I liked this, but they were together way too fast. It was like insta-love. Even though Adam says he's unable to love because he's a psychopath, it just felt a lot of repetitive sex scenes. It was like a lot of sex that didn't really hold the impact to me. But otherwise, it was really, really cute. I will be interested to continue the series. I just wanted more angst and a little build up to them being together. Like they were together instantly. But trigger warnings, obviously, for sexual assault, PTSD, child abuse, and sex trafficking of children. So just be prepared. It does have a lot of dark content in this book. Okay, and then I read Blindside by Kandi Steiner. I actually didn't read the previous book in this series, so I would be interested to go back to the previous book. But they're kind of standalones. They just deal with the same football team. And this is between Clay Johnson and Gianna. And it is a fake dating romance. And I thought the fake dating was done perfectly in this. This is a sports college kind of fake dating. We have Clay Johnson. He was recently dumped by his high school girlfriend. They've been together since high school, and she kind of thinks she can do better. And so she just randomly dumps him, and he doesn't know why. Like, he's devastated. He wants her back. And so he ends up giving like this really shitty interview after a game and everything. And Gianna is like the head of like their PR, like she's doing the PR. Sorry about that. My cat was scratching the walls again. They always got to mess around when I'm doing filming. So anyways, he ends up giving that horrible interview, and Gianna is basically tasked with getting him on track. So she ends up meeting him like at this coffee place that she always goes to. Can you stop? This cat is like just getting into trouble, aren't you? Aren't you? Okay, sorry. I just had to basically throw my cat outside because he was just gonna get into everything. So anyways, Blindside, they basically meet up at this coffee shop so they can go over what he needs to do for PR and everything. And she lets him know she knows about, you know, the girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. So they're coming to an arrangement, and he kind of notices that she's like really like like crushing on this art musician at the place that's playing guitar and singing. She's been like crushing on this guy for over a year, but she's super shy and awkward. She's like a bookworm, and she reads her smutty books. And so he tells her, like, let's do fake dating. I can get this guy to notice you with fake dating me, and I will get my girlfriend back, because once she likes the competition, and once she sees that, she's going to wake up and want me back. So they kind of come to that agreement, and this leads to fake dating. It's really cute. They have instant connection. I did kind of like think there should have been more involved with the ex-girlfriend, because she was kind of barely in it when that was like kind of the purpose of them fake dating. But I thought that this was super sexy, super cute. Clay Johnson is like a perfect book boyfriend. He reads her books and looks at her annotations of the sex scenes and stuff, and, you know, to help act it out. She actually goes to him and asks him to have sex with her, because she doesn't, once the musician starts to notice her, she freaks out because she's a virgin. And so she wants Clay to like be her first so he can teach her. So it's kind of a lessons in seduction as well as fake dating. And then obviously once they start doing that, they're like falling for each other. So there's a lot of mutual pining going on. But like that communication where they're afraid to communicate their interest in each other. So I really loved this. I loved Clay Johnson a lot. Like, I think he's a really great hero. I just think the third act breakup was stupid and kind of not necessary. And so I kind of was just kind of annoyed with it a little bit. So that took off a little bit of my rating. So I gave it 4.5 stars. It would have been better if it didn't have that dumb kind of third act breakup, and then also like built a little bit more into like the ex-girlfriend and stuff. So it was really good though. I enjoyed it, and I'm excited to continue the series. So then I continued on with my Off Balance audiobook, and I listened to Release. This one I gave up the rating up to 5 stars again. Again, I was frustrated the first time I read it. But this time I'm just seeing it all in a new perspective because of how devoted and possessive and protective and just diehard Kova is for Rhea. This time I understand it more. So I really enjoyed it. You know, I love it's just fascinating, the gymnastics world and Rhea's drive. Like, I can't understand how you could work out like that while suffering from health issues and all this stuff. I can't even get up to work out for 30 minutes. So her doing it like 8 to 10 hour days is just insane to me. But I love this series so much. Love Kova so much more this time around. So I gave this one 5 stars. Then I read my next 6 star, which is Soul Eater by Lily Mayne. This has been on my TBR forever, and I'm so glad I finally read it because this book was so amazing. This is a monster romance, male, and it's got such amazing world building. So there's been like this rift that opens up around the world. There's one in the United States, and monsters are rising, and they come through this rift. They kind of stay towards the center of the United States. They don't like the water areas. So there's like this massive wasteland basically throughout the United States, and they call it the Waste. So our hero, Danny, he was kind of young when this happened. So he's always kind of known this life. He lived kind of like on a farm with his mom, and his mom died a couple years ago. So then he didn't really know what to do, because you kind of end up like in the waste where you could get attacked by monsters or like these messed up human ranger kind of people, or you can go to the military. So he enrolls in the military thinking, I'll have food and I'll be safe, you know. But this military ends up using him. In the opening of this book, they're like using them to be him and a bunch of other like kind of grunt people. They're using them to be like a bait for this big monster, the Soul Eater. So Wynn is the Soul Eater, and he randomly kills people, and they don't know why he's like killing certain people. You know, there's no logic. They don't understand why he's killing these people. So they set up these people as like a trap for them, and then they'll basically die, and they can kidnap him and take him to our facility. They have these facilities where they are having certain monsters captured and doing things to them that may not be ethical. And so he ends up being the trap. And when comes down, he's killing everybody. He's like this badass. And he kind of sees Danny and he pauses. He stops and Danny kind of passes out, wakes up. He's at the military base and he finds out they did get the Soul Eater. And the Soul Eater is way down below ground being held, but he will only talk to Danny. So they use Danny to kind of befriend him, interrogate him to try and get intel. And so they kind of have this back and forth for a little bit. And what ends up happening is Wynn breaks out, but he sets up the breakout so that Danny is down there with him. And he basically takes him with him to a hotel. And he gives him the choice, like, you can either stay here where they'll find you, go, on your own, or you can come with me. And so Wynn has this, like, thing that he has to do. They call it, like, I can't remember what they call it. But they basically, every few years he goes around this journey around the United States and he's killing certain people for a reason. So you kind of find out what that reason is, and Danny ends up going with him and they go on this journey. It's like a road trip going around where Wynn has to do his duty and they have like a connection. Wynn is like, wears this cowl like hood. He's got horns. He's like 6'5", a big dude. But it's like all black, so he can't see his face. But Danny's like really attracted to him and his personality. They're getting to know each other, and he full on just tells him that he wants him. And so then it kind of starts. The male sex scenes in this were insane. They're inventive. They're different. This was so sweet. Wynn is like the sweetest, like protective little monster. And I just loved it. The world building was so good. I love their relationship. I don't know. I just fell for this book and I can't wait to continue the series. So it was one of my favorite reads so far. Then I continued with the audiobook. So I listened to Twist. Again, this is I think my favorite book in the series. So it was already 5 stars, but the audiobook was also 5 stars. Loved it. I was listening to it at work. And the scene, if you read this, you know the scene where it's the hurricane and everything. It's like chapters and chapters and chapters of like sex and craziness. I was listening to that work and it was pretty funny. So it was great. 5 stars. Can't really say too much about it. Then I read The Devil and I by Kay Alastor. I didn't really like this that much. It was okay. It's a short book. It's like 200 something pages, but it took me way longer to get through it because I was kind of bored and skimming. It's basically a woman is like opens up where she's killing herself like out in the woods because she was raped, and the rapist is like left her a note and is going to come for her again. And so she's out there, slit her wrist. And then you have our hero Lucas, and he's a police officer, but he's also kind of like a psychopath that like kills bad guys. So he finds her and instantly he knows she's mine. I need her, blah, blah. And so he takes her back home with him, and she wakes up and he saves her. He like, stitches her up and everything. But like what didn't work for me was like she was way too accepting of just coming to this random guy's house, and she was killing herself for getting raped, yet like they were instantly having sex. And it just didn't really connect to me that like you would be killing yourself from a rape and trauma and instantly be like having rough sex. I mean, everybody reacts differently, but it just didn't work for me. I didn't really feel their connection. It was like they were instantly like all in love and like meant to be together. I did like Lucas. He was a little alpha and over the top psychopath kind of thing, but it just didn't work. This one I gave 3 stars. Then I continue with the Tessa Dare Readathon and A Week to Be Wicked. This is Spindle Cove book number 2. And this one I loved the most. It was so good. It was basically Colin and Minerva. Their opposites attract. He is kind of like a rake. Oh, sorry, my light just died. Sorry, my light just died. I don't have the plug for it right now, so the lighting may be off. But the next book I read was that Tessa Dare, and it was between Colin and Minerva, and he's kind of like a rake player. He's so funny. I loved his personality. Minerva's like really kind of socially awkward, intelligent, like they're kind of opposites attract. And she basically goes to him to ask him to kind of run away with her, to pretend like they're getting married, but really they're going to like Scotland for this, it's kind of, I can't remember what she does, but it's like this committee and everything, and she needs to present her findings, where she found probably like dinosaur stuff like down in this underwater cave. And so she wants him to take her with him, and then that way they can go together, and she'll give him the prize money because he needs money. And so it's kind of like a road trip, forced proximity. They get into lots of hijinks, and their like banter is so amazing, and it's sharing one bed, and you know, they get robbed and all this crazy stuff happens, and it was just so freaking cute. It was very sexy. Like Minerva like wants to know what a man feels like, and she kind of goes about it in a scientific study kind of way. And it was such a hot scene of her like touching Colin and him being all into it. I absolutely love this. There was so much more to Colin than meets the eye, and he was just funny, and like he would tell these random stories to strangers that were like such fake tall tales, but it was really cute. I loved this. I gave it 5 stars. I loved it a lot better than the first one in this series, so I'm interested to see how the next one's gonna go. So that's going to be it for my May wrap up. I'm really excited that I had such a great month. I do apologize for this lighting at the end. My ring light kind of died, and my computer died, and it's usually connected to my computer. So I apologize. Lots of technical difficulties today. It's kind of been a mess filming, but thank you so much for watching this. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.